Hello and welcome to the Star Wars Generations podcast. It is myself, Matthew, the ethical panda, joined by Erin, the supreme mob wife, as their tag is listing them for today. And we are here to talk to you about Erin's favorite episodes from season 3 of the Clone Wars. That's episodes 9 and 10, and I believe 19 and 20, if I have the numbers correct.
I don't think so, because the Ahsoka ones are at the end of the season, so I think it might be 22, 23, actually.
We're both wrong. 21, so it's 9 and 10, and then 21 and 22.
Okay.
We are coming to you as we are all the time from the People's Republic of Minnesota, where the snow is sometimes bad, but really right now the ice is worse. Alex is a photojournalist, and Lizzo is out documenting all the things that are happening with our invading army and the efforts of the rebels to push back. But it's just me and Erin today. We're going to have a great discussion. So, Erin, let me just start by asking, why these 4 episodes? Are there kind of themes that tie them together? It is 2 sort of individual episodes and then 1 two-parter.
Yes.
Do you see kind of an overall theme? Was it just a couple of your favorites? You wanted to make sure we got all of them? What ties them together?
Yeah, it was really just like a few of my favorites. Also, I think all of them are pretty Ahsoka centered, other than the first episode, which is about Zero. But yeah, I really thought that Heroes on Both Sides was important to include, not only just because of the dialogue and importance it has like in the overall story of Star Wars, but also because it's an important moment for Ahsoka personally. And it's also the first time we see her in her new garb, where she switches to the top with the little diamond cutout instead of her little tube top. Yeah, and then the last 2, it's this the story arc where Ahsoka is kidnapped and then hunted for sport by a bunch of Trandoshans, and kind of binds together with some forgotten about younglings, Jedi younglings, that are also just surviving every day.
Right.
And I don't know, part of it is like, I think that is one of the darkest storylines that Star Wars has ever told.
I think so, yeah.
And I just love the darkness.
Yeah.
And I love that Ahsoka still brings her light to it, but there's no avoiding how just intense those episodes are, I guess.
Yeah.
And it also, I think, has a nice moment between her and Anakin's relationship, where he really blames himself for her being gone. And like, oh my God, I should have searched harder. And she's like, no, I mean, you did everything you could. You trained me, and that's why I'm still alive.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And I think really we see in these episodes, in seasons 1 and 2, it's really been about Ahsoka being Anakin's Padawan, which obviously she is throughout the whole story until we get to season 5. But, these I think are some of the first times we really get to see her out on her own and coming into her own.
Yeah.
So it definitely makes sense. But before we talk about all those, we are going to talk about episode 9, The Hunt for Zero. And while there isn't Ahsoka in this episode, there is another strong female character who I believe you have some strong connections to. So, so particularly as the mob wife that you are today, tell us about episode 9 and maybe your favorite character in it.
I can't remember her fucking name. Give me a second.
Isn't Size Noodles?
Size Noodles. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. So the first episode, Hunt for Zero, we see Obi-Wan Kenobi paired up with a unruly Jedi. It's the first time we see Quinlan Vos, who is, I think he's more explored in like books and comics rather than actual visual media throughout the Star Wars universe. One of my favorite characters. He's even referenced in the Kenobi show as a survivor of Order 66. So I love being able to see him. He's got some cool like facial markings. He's some sort of a like semi-human race where he looks quite human, but his facial markings, they're not tattoos. They are natural to his like species.
Right.
Yeah. And so Obi-Wan's pretty disgruntled by just how little Quinlan cares about rules. Like he shows up late and Obi-Wan's like, oh my God, like we have to go. And I think they're just perfect foils to one another.
Yep.
And so we see them hunting after Zero. We also see Zero is being held captive by Jabba the Hutt, and then is released and escapes with Sice Noodles, which is that very long-nosed singer that we see in Jabba's palace. I think we even see her in the original series, kind of in the background at some point.
Yeah, she she's definitely present at Jabba's palace. She gets to sing a song in the new extended versions of the original movie of the of
Okay.
Return of the Jedi. Yeah, she's the one who has her lips kind of at the end of a long stalk.
Yes, yeah, she's got a big old snout.
Mhm.
And yeah, so she's like just reminisces with Zero about like, oh my God, why'd you leave me? I was so worried. Like perfect mob wife. She breaks him out. And then, he goes on this hunt and he's like, well, we got to leave the planet. But first I'm going to go and I'm going to get all this money because I know where it's hidden. And then we're going to leave now that I'll have funds. And so they go, we meet Zero's mom. She's terrifying. And then they find the treasure. And in a large plot twist that the first time I did not see coming at all, Slice Noodles kills Zero and says, next time you'll think twice about breaking a girl's heart. Takes the money for herself and goes back to Jabba. Turns out she was working for him the whole time. And Jabba used her to have Zero find this kind of treasure, these funds, and then bring it back to him.
Yeah, because so basically at some point during all this, she wanted him to come to her when he was kind of on the run. He didn't. She thought he was, gone. That's the broken heart part. And this is such a like classic mob story, the way it's told. And I love it because if you've ever heard if you've ever seen Guys and Dolls, and especially heard Adelaide's lament, and like the way that character is often played with a very nasally voice and kind of high and, oh sweetie, I'm just trying to be your loyal. Like it very much sounds like that. And the Psy actress is clearly doing that voice. And I don't think this is the most insightful episode I've ever seen, but it's so much fun. And we do get to see more about how the Hutts work and like all these Hutt criminal cartels. I think this is the first time we've gone to Null Hutta, the home planet of the Hutts. Certainly is one
that
of the
I
first
know
times.
of, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, fun episode. Good quote I pulled from it. I actually might have. Yes, I have 2 quotes from that episode. My favorite. No, never mind. The second one's my favorite. But the first one is after Quinlan Vos. Mind you, when he comes in, he doesn't land in a gunship. He simply flips out of the sky and just lands. And Obi-Wan's like, if you could tell time half as well as you can stick a landing, we wouldn't be behind schedule now, would we? And Quinlan, in the most perfect Quinlan response, goes, well, that's your opinion, man. And just immediately offsets these 2 characters. And it's just fun. It's cool to see their relationship in visual media because we do see it explored more in The Dark Disciple, which is where he is really featured alongside Asajj Ventress, but Kenobi also is featured to an extent in that book. And Quinlan's relationship with Kenobi is explored a bit more.
So this leads me to a question that I want to ask Alex, especially as our resident Anakin lover, but I do want to hear your thoughts on as well. If Quinlan Vos had been Anakin's master, instead of Obi-Wan, would that have been better or worse for Anakin?
This is a good question. Wasn't he Aayla Secura's master?
I think that's right. Yeah, I think so.
I think he was. Which is funny because she's very law-abiding.
Right.
She's pretty by the book. That's a great question that I'd have to think about a lot. My gut instinct is to say no, because although with Anakin, Obi-Wan was a little too restrictive, they didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. I think if Quinlan taught a Padawan the same way he interacts with Kenobi, it would be too hands-off for Anakin. It would be a little too laissez-faire. Just kind of like, go ahead.
Yeah, right now, I think it might be the opposite, but I'm curious. Okay. And I think let's all give it some more thought. We'll ambush Alex with a question, and it's a good way to test to see if he listens to these.
He doesn't.
I'm sure he doesn't. And we'll see. And certainly listeners, let us know what you think of that question. All right, so with that, let's now turn to Ahsoka. And we start with, go ahead.
I had one more quote from the Hunt for Zero.
Ahead, sorry.
My very favorite one is when Zero is like, Sai, like I've loved you. I've always loved you. And she goes, you really mean that? Oh, fuck me. I said it wrong. Go back.
Okay. Well, let me do that. Okay, so we're going to move on to Ahsoka in 1 second, but I know you have one more quote from this episode you wanted to touch on.
Yes, thank you. So Sai is like telling Zero how much she loves him and everything. Like, oh my God, I would never leave you. Like, I'll always be waiting for you. And Zero goes like, you really mean that? And she goes, from the bottom of my fluid sacs. And I love the random nods to the different like anatomy and different cultures that we get that are just it's like such a classic phrase, you know, from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of my fluid sacs, multiple sacs, mind you.
Yeah, it's such a, and sometimes you'll see this and it doesn't make sense, where aliens who have different anatomy but still for some reason use kind of like human idioms that don't fit for them in other sci-fi, and so, or Space Odyssey or whatever. And I just love that Star Wars is actually pretty good at doing that, of like, yeah, maybe it's an idiom that's passed on, maybe it came out of their own culture, but yeah, they don't seem to have hearts, they have fluid sacs. That's what matters to them for whatever reason. So I love it. All right, now let's talk about our girl Ahsoka. And our next episode is called Heroes on Both Sides. And if that line rings familiar to you, it's because it is a line from the opening crawl of Revenge of the Sith. And if you listen to our episode on Revenge of the Sith, I actually went on a bit of a mini rant that I don't think it makes any sense there, because I don't think they've ever established that there's heroes on the Separatist side.
Yeah, they've never explained or
but here there definitely is some element of that. And this is a very political episode. It's a very economics focused episode, but the basic idea of it is the banking clan and others are pushing through for there to be more funding for the Galactic Civil War, the Clone Wars. And what they want as part of that is to end the restrictions on the banks, basically to allow the banks more freedom so that they can loan the Republic more money and be more to deregulate the banks, basically, so that they can help fund the war. This is, again, one of these things where if you think Star Wars wasn't political until recently, check out the timing of this, because if you look at the headlines about the time that this episode was written and then aired, it's right when there's a lot of push to deregulate the financial institutions that are helping to fund our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And it's at the point at which a lot of people are saying, like, wait a minute, how much are companies like Halliburton making from this? How much are companies like, these others? And in this, it is those institutions that are helping, the cloners and others like that who are really pushing for that. Ahsoka is concerned about this. She's starting to think, maybe we can bring peace to the war. Do we have to have this war go on? And she wants to make contact with someone who had been one of her mentors in the Senate, Senator Bontieri. Is that the right?
Mina Bonteri. And also, this is Padme. I think you may have accidentally said Ahsoka, but this
is
Padme.
It is Padme. Yeah, very much so. And she has some conflict with Anakin about this. That's pretty good. And at the same time, Ahsoka, though, is pushing to get more. She wants to do more and be more involved. And so eventually they all work it out that Padme is going to go try and meet with her contact, who is now a Separatist senator. Anakin's like, no, all the Separatists are bad and terrible and evil. And Padme's really pushing him on that. And so he says, why doesn't Ahsoka kind of go with you? And Ahsoka really gets to be a great point of view character here, because Ahsoka is very much in that, why are we doing this? The Separatists are all bad. The Separatists are all evil. And they go and meet with Senator Bonteri and her son, Lux Bonteri, who just happens to be right around Ahsoka's age and just cute as a button, which is kind of a fun little dynamic they play with, but they don't push it too much.
Yeah.
And in the course of it, we kind of learn that there are those in the Separatists who, do feel like they have legitimate grievances. And we get the sense that they've somewhat been played along by Dooku, but also just the Republic wasn't the greatest. They had some legit grievances. But Bonteri and some of the others really want peace. And her and Padme work out this possibility for a peace deal. Padme comes back with it. It looks like it's going to all work out. And then, of course, Palpatine arranges for a terrorist incident, makes it look like the Separatists did it, make it look like, see, we can't possibly have peace with the Separatists. We have to have more war. Let's deregulate the banks. And along the way, not only does Padme get convinced, but Ahsoka is forced to kind of challenge her own feelings about, are all the Separatists bad and evil? And why do I think the war is so black and white? And why is this boy so cute if he's supposed to be so evil? And all that kind of stuff. So talk about why you love this episode.
Yeah, so there's a lot of aspects. I mean, some of it is like girl power. Because towards the start of the episode, Padme is talking with Anakin and Ahsoka about politics. And like you said, Anakin's very like, boo Separatists. And Padme's like, okay, so you're clearly not the one who's going to help me. Ahsoka, why don't you help me? And he's like, okay, whatever, take her. And then they use Ahsoka's like diplomatic immunity to travel to a certain planet so that they can then get to a Separatist planet. So it's all very secretive.
Right.
They are doing this under wraps. They are not allowed to be doing this. Like, it's forbidden to have meetings with separatist senators.
Right.
Nonetheless, go to a separatist planet. And yeah, so I love seeing Ahsoka and Padme together and seeing how she kind of thrives and is so curious and learns so well under like a more gentle but driven female presence
Mm-hmm.
rather than Anakin's aggressive, out of control male presence, which also he trains her very well in a lot of ways. I'm not
Right.
discounting that. I'm just saying him as a mentor versus Padme as a mentor, I think it's a good difference to see in this episode, kind of what that's like.
Definitely.
Because
Definitely.
it's really challenging Ahsoka. And Ahsoka really is showing up as a teenager who grew up in a cult. Like, she
Yeah.
doesn't know shit when she rolls up to this planet. She's like, oh my God, there's not just like battle droids everywhere.
Yeah.
And Lux asks her at one point, well, have you ever met a separatist that isn't a battle droid or a war general?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, no. She's like, have you ever met a Jedi? He was like, no. And he said, oh, no, it was a whole thing because, yeah, he was like, have you ever met a separatist? She said, no. He's like, I'm not that bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, have you met a Jedi? No, I haven't. She's like, well, I'm not that bad either. And then he like looks her up and down. She goes, ugh, boys are the same everywhere.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
They
I
threw
like.
a little humor into that
Mhm.
otherwise like very serious and important conversation between these two young people.
Yeah. And she, I think, shows an open-mindedness that you don't get from a lot of other characters, especially among the Jedi, to be honest, but also on the other side as well, where, yes, she has these very specific views, but the minute she's presented with evidence that her ideas of the separatists are not maybe accurate, she doesn't try to rationalize it away. She doesn't try to say, oh, this is fake. This is being presented to me. She's like, oh, maybe what I was taught was wrong. And I feel like the questioning that she eventually does of the Jedi, leading to her walking away from the Jedi, when she's kind of framed and put on trial, really kind of starts here. And I think you're right. It's not just that it's that she's starting to question the Jedi, and also she's starting to question Anakin, because I think she loves Anakin. She well, do that again. I think she obviously has a really strong respect and emotional connection with Anakin, in as much as the Jedi can, and really believes that he is a good mentor for her, and is her master. But she's starting to recognize, like, maybe Anakin is wrong about this.
Yeah, he can't be right all the time.
Yeah. How did you feel about the kind of like little bits of romance, or romantic tension or whatever that were made as part of this with her and Lux Monteri?
Oh, when I was younger, I ate that shit up. All I wanted was a little romance in my like boom, boom, pow, pow show. I was like, ooh, a little like flirty. And it's not just Anakin and Padme being wildly incompatible. So I always loved that. As I grew up, I wasn't sure. And in later seasons, I think the next season 4, maybe season 5, where we see her and Lux again together in a more serious situation that they have to really work together to get themselves out of, and he becomes very disillusioned with the separatists.
Right.
And so I really liked those episodes as well, and I liked how they played into that like slight idea of romance also, but it's very clear like Ahsoka never lets it get more than skin deep.
Yeah.
Like, she knows what her boundaries are. She knows, like, she's not even flirty. Like, he does it a little and she just kind of like rolls her eyes and like maybe pops a smirk. Like,
yeah.
So I never thought that adding that took away from her character at all, or like cheapened the interaction between the two of them. I thought it was actually quite natural for two teenagers to interact in that way.
Yeah, I really like that, especially because I admit, when I first saw them, like, when they first introduced a character who's clearly there to offer her a different opinion and who's very clearly of her age and male and cute, I kind of tensed up, because that's a trope we see a lot, unfortunately, of, a woman changes her mind because it's sort of like, well, if he's bad, why does he look so good? And that, I do think, like, when you're romantically interested in someone, that can make you more open to learning about them, even if it's just like a tiny little bit of a crush, not anything major. But often it is used, as you said, to kind of like cheapen the character, or to make her appear like, oh, well, she's just kind of like flighty, or or it's just because he looks so good, or whatever. She wants to kiss him. And the fact that they avoided all of that like he does clearly find her attractive and she doesn't like blush and giggle. She just like, oh, boys are all the same,
Yeah.
I really appreciate how they just dip their toe in that water enough that the fans who want that can eat it up, as you said, because it is fun, but also they don't really ever go far enough with it so that it really makes Ahsoka's kind of openness to the new ideas that he and his mother and others are offering her feel really genuine and not just because, she's following her heart or something.
Yeah. I also, one thing I love about these shows is seeing a separatist Senate. I don't know if it's been mentioned before, but it certainly wasn't on my radar until this episode. And I was like, oh, that's great. No way they have their own government.
Right.
No way they're a legitimate thing. Like, the separatists we've talked about this in past episodes, but they have very legitimate grievances. And I understand why they pulled away the way that they did. Although Palpatine was the one who turned it into a full-blown war.
Right.
But it's very interesting. There's this one conversation where Padme says something disparaging about Dooku, like, ugh. And Mina Bontari's like, well, like, he's just the leader of our Senate. And Padme's like, ugh, I forgot. You actually admire the man. Like, ugh. It's just so interesting to see how people think of him. Because I often forget that although we as an audience know that he's Sith, he fights with a lightsaber, your average citizen wouldn't know that.
Yeah, no, not at all.
And knowing that it's like, yes, our Jedi, because at this point, our Jedi have fought him. Right. They have fought Count Dooku. And yet, he's still the leader of the Senate, and his people still believe him to be a peaceful man. Like, they have no idea. So some of that is also like propaganda on the separatist part. But I also think it was interesting to make us look at Dooku in the way of being more than just a Sith and like truly the political position he held. And also in second season of Bad Batch, I think it was, where we saw what he had done to his home planet. I really liked that as well, just kind of deepening our understanding of Dooku.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's very much there. And you're right. I think this is the first time it gets mentioned. It gets mentioned more in the books, including in Dark Disciple that we mentioned, but hasn't really appeared on screen. It definitely does not appear in the prequels.
Yeah.
And I really like the kind of respect that Bonteri has for him. And also that, like, they do show that, by the way, don't forget, like, yes, there is the separatist Senate, but also there's this kind of like cabal of business leaders from like the banking clan and the trade guilds and the techno guild and all them and the corporate factions. And they're kind of like this secret economic cabal that he's working with that is kind of pulling the strings and has a lot of influence over the separatist Senate. But remember all those like bankers and cloners who are kind of pulling the strings in the Republic Senate. And I think they kind of set up a parallel there of there are people on both sides who are getting a profit out of this war and are encouraging the war to go on as profiteers. And it really kind of, I think, sets up this idea of this is a much more complicated conflict than the Jedi believe. And that's part of the problem. That's the trap that Palpatine is laying.
Yeah. One thing I love about this show, and you've made comments on this specifically about the voiceovers at the start of episodes, is that what we're seeing is actually war propaganda. We are not seeing the whole story. We are seeing what they want us to see. And so I think it is very intentional that we, as an audience, have no idea about this. It makes this episode so much more interesting and important because we have been hearing just one side of the story and just a specific few people. And that's what we know and believe about this time period. So I love the episodes that we get throughout this show that kind of challenge that black and white perspective that's introduced at the start of the series.
Yeah. And I think those voiceovers are specifically by Yularen, right?
They are, yeah.
Right, who is, at this point, a Republic military leader. But eventually, if you've seen Andor season 2, like, he's one of the high-placed people in the ISB. So, like, he's going to be signing up with the Empire. And so when you remember that it's his military propaganda that does it. So this is one of my favorite episodes. I'm really glad you chose it. It would have been a real shame to get past season 3 without talking about it.
I couldn't let it happen. I could not allow it to happen. I was maybe thinking about picking other arcs, but I was like, I have to do some one-offs so I can include heroes on both sides.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. All right, so shall we talk about the arc, the hunting of the Trandoshans by the Trandoshans?
Deep, dark Darkness. Yes, we shall.
Yeah. Yeah, so in this episode, Trandoshans, for those who don't know, are the kind of reptilian lizard-like race in Star Wars. If you remember in Empire Strikes Back, there's that hunter named Bosk who shows up in a lot of other things, but he's the kind of one of the bounty hunters that Vader calls together when he tells Boba Fett no disintegrations. He's a Trandoshan, and they become a very big race in animation and the books. And they're hunters, and they really love to hunt. And the thing they love to hunt more than anything else, there are two things: Wookiees and Jedi. And they basically have a habit of kidnapping both of those groups, although they really know they can't go up against a full-fledged Jedi. They get their ass kicked. So how do you hunt someone with Force powers? You capture Jedi children. So they mostly go after younglings. They snag a Padawan in their nets this time and get Ahsoka. Much to their chagrin, it's going to turn out, because she's going to, lead them all to victory, lead the younglings and the Wookiees to victory eventually. But basically, she gets onto this planet. They're being hunted. She meets these other younglings, some of whom may have been connected to the Jedi at some point. Others are just like Force-sensitive younglings who the Jedi never found.
I think all of them were supposed to be specifically Jedi younglings, because one of them said it specifically, and it seemed to be like an understood pain of like, our masters did not look for us.
That's right. You're
like
right.
The people in charge of us never came.
Right. That you're correct. Yeah, thank you. And so they've mostly given up hope. They're all kind of on their own. They're all kind of callous about if each other gets killed. And so Ahsoka comes in to kind of like rally them together and try to get them to all work together. And it doesn't go very well at first. And one of the people who she's kind of trying to get on board with her, and is kind of a little hesitant, winds up getting killed after starting to help her.
But and she was the leader of the younglings for however long they've been there.
Right, exactly. The ones who weren't just like kind of off on their own or whatever.
Yeah.
And then some Wookiees come in, including Chewbacca, which makes me roll my eyes a little bit, but fair enough.
If it's a Wookiee, it has to be Chewbacca, right?
Right.
Obviously, he's the only
three
Wookiee.
Wookiees in the whole galaxy. Hence my eye rolling. But with their help, they're able to kind of turn the tables on the Trandoshans, and escape.
Yeah, and a quote I love from this episode, I didn't write it down verbatim, but it's basically like, this guy's like, okay, so the younglings are organized, determined, and now they have a Wookiee.
Yeah.
Great. He's like, God damn it. Like,
yeah, it's kind of a nice reminder that in this universe, like a Jedi, a youngling, but who still has a lot of control over the Force, and just your average Wookiee are about on the same level in terms of danger as like hunting and hunters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I want to, actually start do this way. So tell me, why did you pick these episodes?
I picked them because I love that we see Ahsoka kind of grow on her own, and she goes through these like periods of doubt, and then trying to rally these other people to her side. But also there is a point in time where after their leader has been killed, the other two guys, they come up with a plan and they're like, we're doing this. And Ahsoka's like, I don't think this is the best plan. And they're like, well, we're doing it regardless. And she's like, shit, okay, I guess I'll come, because I'm not going to let you go get yourself killed alone. Like, let's work it out a little harder and let's go. So it was cool to see her not only like come into her own as a leader, but also like she's been a commander ever since she became a Padawan. So she knows how to be a leader, even if not a full-fledged or well-rounded one. She knows how to do that. And so to see her be something that she's not the designated leader, but she's also not a designated like subordinate. Right. She's not a designated Padawan. It's truly like peers that you are trying to work together. And I don't think we see that often for Jedi, because typically it's master and a Padawan. You don't send 5 Jedi to one place, that we don't see that, because the Jedi are spread thin in this period of time. So I loved
it's a real nice way to show her kind of at that equal place, because normally it's like she gives orders to the clones, and Anakin and Obi-Wan and everyone else gives orders to her. And like we saw this a little bit when she did some work, when she and Barriss Offee were together, but seeing her have to be in that place where she can't just give orders, but she has to kind of find a way to work with them as a team, it is some great growth from her.
Yeah. And it's interesting because she, as a Padawan, has the highest rank, has the most official training with the Jedi compared to all these younglings. However,
Mhm.
they have the most experience and understanding of the situation they are in.
Right.
And it seems like at first she's very resistant to that. Like, I mean, in this episode, we see straight up murders, we see slaughter. Like, they drop off these new recruits and they're like, well, time to see who's really worth it. And they just open fire with a machine gun and they shoot down like 3 of these people immediately on the beach because they
Right.
just weren't smart enough to hunt, you know? Um, it's really dark, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids being hunted, and like this is like Hunger Games, but if like it's only 12-year-olds and younger.
Yeah. And we see where Ahsoka wants to save some of these other people, and the younglings are like, no, don't. If you go to save her, you're both gonna die.
Right.
Like, you need to mind your fucking business. And this is how we survive. So it's interesting to see that aspect of her conflicting as well. Cause like as a Jedi, you are trained, like, you know, you are a
Mhm.
peacekeeper, you are here to help people, you are here to help everyone.
Right.
And this is, I think, one of the first situations where she's faced with like, oh, not only can I not help everyone, if I help others, I will bring direct harm to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. To myself and to the others who are kind of counting on me, you know?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. It's, I think there's some great stuff here for her. Um, in some ways, I feel like it's kind of similar to Heroes on Both Sides, because there, that was somewhat about her kind of like blind obedience and never questioning of the Republic. This is a little bit where she's starting to question the Jedi a little bit, because
Mhm,
when they're critical of the Jedi, she's very defensive and very like, no,
mhm.
of course not. And I think has to kind of take their concerns seriously and listen. And I don't think she has as much of sort of like a turn on her feelings towards the Jedi as she does towards the Republic. Not that she's anti-Republic, but she now sees through the kind of Republic propaganda about the Separatists.
Yeah, she's starting to understand it deeper.
She doesn't have quite that with a Jedi, but I think she is starting to see like, oh yeah, actually the Jedi aren't perfect. And sometimes even
Yeah.
if like it's not that their masters like tr- made bad decisions the way they think, it's that their masters got killed or something. She understands why people can still have this depth of feeling against the Jedi.
Mhm. Yeah, it is interesting. I think of it as like she has been a Jedi since she was like 2 years old when they came and found her,
Mhm.
if not younger. And so that's been her whole life. But if we look before the Clone Wars, the Jedi and the Republic were loosely affiliated. You know, like they were
Mhm.
around, they helped out the Republic if really needed, but the Jedi were kind of their own entity until this war broke out and Palpatine, you know, manipulated it such that they could be turned into generals and start to become their own foils.
Right.
So I think of it as you're kind of deconstructing these lies and this propaganda, like you said, and it's much easier for her to start to deconstruct and see behind the curtain of the Republic,
Yeah.
because that's been a regular aspect of her life for the last 3 to 4 years, versus the Jedi, which has been her whole life that she can remember. I
Yeah.
think that's a lot harder, and that's why it's 2 more seasons before we see her part ways with the Jedi, because I think this is just one of the first steps of realizing how not everything the Jedi says is correct all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're very right. And I have to say, I rolled my eyes a bit when I saw that you picked these episodes.
Ah,
These are not my favorite episodes, and I'm really glad that we're getting to talk about this, because I think you're right. From us, in terms of Ahsoka's character development, I
mhm.
think these are really good episodes, and I kind of like knowing that's part of what you like. I kind of was watching it more through those eyes and
Yeah.
seeing that a lot more, because I do think, and if you disagree, that's totally fine. A lot of other parts of these episodes to me are kind of childish. What's wrong with to me, a lot of parts of these episodes are a lot more simplistic than I feel like a lot of
Mm,
Star Wars tends to be. The Trandoshans to me are like comic levels of just evil badness, but also ridiculousness. Uh, Among other things, they fall into a trope that I really hate, which is we're going to hunt these people, and because we are noble hunters, but if they fight back and hurt any of us, we're going to then become like, homicidally angry and filled with rage. When it's like,
mhm.
if you have a hunter culture, you should expect they're going to fight back, and that's part of it, right? But as it turns out, in the first episode, the son of one of the main hunters, who's kind of like, getting his feet wet for the first time on
He
his
seems
first
to
big
be their
hunt.
leader.
Yeah, the son of the leader, really, um, gets killed. And I think it's not that Ahsoka directly kills him, but he's kind of like, they're fighting and he falls off a cliff and gets impaled on a very strategically placed, branch in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that kind of thing where you can't even say Ahsoka directly killed him. Very much in like, Disney villains of the 50s and 60s, he kind of killed himself. But of course, our leader is just now like, no, I'm so mad, I have to kill them all, et cetera, et cetera. And it just felt very two-dimensional in terms of them. There's also just a lot of fight scenes in these episodes because there's so much hunting. And I think for those who love that, I think that is fantastic, and I'm glad it's there. It's just not my favorite. So these are not my favorite episodes, but I do think I now have a much better appreciation of them for thinking about it specifically in terms of like how much of these episodes about Ahsoka's growth.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I do absolutely see what you're saying. The episodes are pretty simple outside of, like you said, the fighting and, some of the nuance with Ahsoka's character and her questioning of, what's good, what's bad, where do I fit in with this group of people? I'm not a commander, I'm not a subordinate. I think all those aspects can be easily overlooked if you're not looking for them, and it will come off as a very like 2D kind of a storyline. I've never thought about it in the aspect of like hunter culture and you would kind of expect them to fight back. That's a really good point that you made. I think that it makes it a little more silly that he'd be like, Dar, my son. I never quite thought of it in that way. So I agree that it seems a little odd. But I personally, even though the Trandoshans were pretty two-dimensional, I saw them as like a subsect. Yeah. Like, this is not the way that I think all Trandoshans operate. I think all of them are hunters and they're made to be like a predatory species, yes. But that doesn't mean that I think that all Trandoshans are out there kidnapping and abducting defenseless people. And even to the point where if the Trandoshans lose one of their guns, they can remotely turn it off, leaving the other people defenseless.
Right.
That's not a hunter. That's a fucking coward.
Yeah.
Like, you are literally, you're doing nothing, or you're not in danger in these situations. But I loved some of the little things that we learned about just like their culture or their species. Like, they have wicked sense of smell, like you have to try to use the Force to suppress your natural sense so they can't find you. Yeah. They have crazy good hearing. And I loved all the little noises and the clicks and the chortling. I really love when not only does a story or Star Wars make an alien species that kind of looks like something else, but it actually has features of that animal.
Yeah.
As far as like the hissing and like I just really loved that. Even though they're not very deep characters emotionally, I liked the deeper understanding we got of the species of Trandoshans. Because one of my favorite things about Star Wars is the alien species. I love learning about them, what's different, what's not. It's just something I love. I used to memorize them. How did we not know I was autistic? I don't know. But yeah, I used to memorize alien species because I just found it so interesting. So that's another aspect of why I like it. But yeah, they're not the deepest episodes out there. They're not like, you got to do it. Again, I was like, I can't pick a bigger arc because I already picked 2 episodes. So I'm going to pick a little one where I like the story. It's crazy dark. So I feel like that's always interesting to talk about. And I felt like there was some good growth with Ahsoka. So I'm glad you watched it through a new perspective and kind of came to understand where I'm coming from.
No, for sure. And I certainly think, like, I confess, I never really saw it as that dark. And I think a lot of that maybe I didn't watch it when I was a kid.
Yeah, I was a kid.
And that's probably a big deal. And I think it's in part because to me, the Trandoshans felt so like cartoony.
Yeah.
But you're right. They do a lot with, and the Trandoshans have been a race that's now been really well developed. And they're not just all hunters and bad guys. There are Trandoshan Jedi who appear in some of the books. There are other Trandoshan characters who are much more like morally complex and things like that. But you're right. Also, I think the character design is, it's not just, oh, hey, here are these people who look like lizards. It's that I think there's a real consciousness of, in the way, like, on this planet, apes were the ones that developed and into, primates and then eventually to humans. And the idea that on some different planet, different conditions could be such that reptilian life was what evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved to eventually become humanoid, as far as I understand, is perfectly evolutionarily possible. And you're right. It does in the same way that we have like some simian or ape-like tendencies that part of our evolution. That a race that evolves from reptiles that still is reptilian in some way would absolutely have some of that like hissing and clicking and sense of smell and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really, I mean, it's just such a wide, incredibly diverse world that
It
they've created.
is.
So,
It is. Yeah.
so cool. Well, this has been great. Any last comments or quotes you wanted to give us from these episodes?
Let me double check. This was actually another one from Hunt for Zero, but Sai is such a troll. She's
really
such
is.
a troll. She
She's
literally
so
is
good.
like, I'm pretty sure she had already. Oh, no. She goes to Zero. She's holding her gun. She goes,
Next time you'll think twice about breaking someone's heart. Oh, wait. There won't be a next time.
like,
Yeah.
I just love her character. She's so sassy. She's so cunty. Like, she's just an icon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, she's the best. It's
She's
just
the best.
it's a great episode, and she does show up again, I believe. So we'll get more of her, I think. I know she appears in books, so
She does, yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, Erin, thank you so much. To our listeners, thank you so much. As always, let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your feedback. We're going to start gearing up to be a little bit more organized in terms of when episodes are coming out, and or specifically when we're recording episodes to give you all a chance to be part of live recordings. I'd hope to hit the new year with that, but getting hit by really bad pneumonia and everyone in my family getting sick and my city getting invaded, like it's been a pretty rough time. But we're moving along. We'll have more of that. So, but please keep checking in. Please keep telling your friends about this. Leave us reviews, leave us comments, leave us thoughts. On behalf of myself and Erin and Alex, thank you so much for listening. Fuck ice.
I was going to throw something in, but yeah, fuck ice.
There we go.